and I just unloaded on my dad over the phone. I'm not proud to say, but I was just screaming. I was stressed, and I just snapped, right? And I hung the phone up and just kind of sat in my truck, and I was like, I shouldn't have done that. And I texted my dad, and I just was like, hey, I asked for this, not you, me. He just sent me back this text, and he said, just don't stop.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Blue Collar Creative Podcast. I'm Ryan. This is Phil.
What's up, guys?
And we're here with Tony Grace, CEO of Alma Tire. We are actually in one of the old shops here at Alma Tire in Alma, Michigan.
Cool space. Tony, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. This is a cool space. It's I spent a lot of time here growing up. Right there, I've mounted hundreds, thousands of 17.5s.
There you go.
Yeah,
so
my knees are still...
blood, sweat, and tears put into this place.
Yeah, yep.
Well, we get to enjoy it today. So this is a cool background, cool scene. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate you guys coming up. I'm excited too.
So I'm excited just to have an actual sponsor now of the podcast, Hard Hat Coffee Co. Cole, I've talked to him a couple times now, and Blue Collar Creative and Hard Hat Coffee Co. have very similar missions. Their goal is to empower the next generation to get into the trades, work with their hands. And so they're doing that with each bag sold. Part of that goes to helping young people get equipped with the right tools, the right knowledge. So he's doing some really cool things. We're really thankful that he decided to partner up with us and bring more of these stories with Tony.
And if you want to buy any of the Hard Hat Coffee or check out more information on them, you can check them out at hardhatcoffee.co.
That sucked, Ryan. No,
I know it did. And how many generations was the business again?
I am part of the fourth generation.
That's hard to keep going, right? That's many decades.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm only part of the fourth. I imagine that the first, second, and third were pretty tough. But yeah, no, you don't hear about it. You don't see it very often.
No.
At all. Yeah, and it's something I'm certainly very proud of.
You hear about it in maybe the ag community a lot, right? Where it's like, hey, we're the fourth generation of this, that, and the other, but they say it with such pride, right? Because it's hard it's hard to pass down that, to the next generation, because maybe that next generation doesn't want to do what their dad did, And so where did you find that inspiration?
Well, it's kind of fair to say it was more out of it was more desperation than inspiration, I guess. So I was never actually planning on coming to work here at the tire shop. It was what my dad and uncle did, and I always thought it was cool. My granddad had not really been working in the business at that time, and I didn't have the scope to see it for what it was. I was young, and really honestly, I would watch my dad and uncle work 14, 16 hours a day, going out on the side of the road, changing tires, working all day Saturday. We'd go to church on Sunday, and then they'd probably go back to the shop. And it was I'm thinking that's not the life I want. I want a 9 to 5, and I want to, I want to be able to enjoy life, and I want to, it looked like way too difficult of a way to make a living. But as you get older, I went to college. I went and got a job after college. Started getting a little bit of life experience, and I really kind of got to this point where I was like, man, I don't know. To try to get what I really do want out of life, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it in a 9 to 5, and even if I can, I don't even know where to look. So long story, much shorter. After I left my first job after college, I didn't know what to do, and I came home, went to live in mom and dad's basement, very broke, went back to the retread shop like I always did when I was in high school and college in the summers, just to make a little bit of money. And I started kind of just as I'm working and doing the things I always did, and I was looking around, and I looked at my dad and my uncle, and started really thinking about what did I really want out of life. Sure. I saw them. They were married to great ladies. They had great kids. They seemed to enjoy their life, like even in spite of. Come to find out, it was maybe even a little because of like all of that hard work.
Right.
I just looked at them, and I always respected them, and I'd always looked up to them. But I was like, man, these guys really have what I ultimately do want. So if a tire shop got them there, a tire shop can get me there. And I've always been someone who kind of enjoys physical work, and I have a great love for cars.
We can see that.
As you can see.
The scene has been set right here.
So like, it just kind of, I just had like this light bulb moment where I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was something that I never expected to really make a lot of money doing, or I never imagined at that time that the business could be what it has turned out to be so far. I just wanted an opportunity to try hard, work hard.
Yeah.
And
how old were you?
Make some things happen. I was
because I know you heard a little bit of your story, right?
Yeah.
You came through college, right? And you're just switching majors here and there, because trying to figure out like what you wanted to do. How old were you when you made that decision, though? You're like, you know what? I see what they have, and that's ultimately what I want. How old were you at that point?
Yeah, it was. I was probably like 25.
25.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep. Graduated school. Did a half a victory lap, because that's what it took. I'm surprised it didn't take more. But I did a lot of goofing off in college, quite a bit.
Racing or otherwise?
No, definitely.
The racing wasn't there yet.
No, I couldn't afford to do that. No, it was a lot of otherwise. Yeah, a lot of extracurriculars.
You mentioned like values being one of those things, and you mentioned like you couldn't find what you were looking for out of a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
What was it you were looking for specifically? Like, what were those attributes of like, hey, I saw this with my dad, or I saw this with my grandpa, or what were you looking for that you couldn't find?
What I really wanted was, it wasn't necessarily like a value thing. Like we've got our core values here at Alma Tire, and that's what I think about when you say values.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was really looking for was, I knew that I would work hard, right? And I knew that I wanted to somehow make something of my life,
Because you had seen that in your dad and your uncle, like you knew that was instinctively there? Or is just something in?
I don't know. I think I've kind of always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I think that's probably a lot of what it comes from. We didn't grow up with a lot of money. I personally didn't grow up with, I grew up as like a kind of a small nerdy kid, and I think there were, it was, I have memories of like being excluded from things,
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'd really like to do this, but people telling me that I can't, or that I would never, things like that. And I was just kind of like, why not? Like I can be awesome. I know I can, and I'm going to work for it, but like trying to find just that arena in which to compete, and trying to find jobs like, at that time, there was no LinkedIn. People weren't, like talking about work the way that we do now. I mean, like with this podcast and video that we're doing, and what you guys are doing, you're out glorifying these blue collar jobs, just like we're trying to glorify the American worker here in Alma Tire. Like that stuff just wasn't out there. And so what I was looking for is I was like, I know I want to do something. I want to do something with my life. I want to make people proud of me. I want to be proud of what I've done. But where can I go and do that?
Right.
Like maybe I can put an app in at this job and put in some years and like, but are they going to really value what I'm bringing to the table? Like if I'm saying, hey, I'm going to work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. I'm going to help your company. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Are they actually going to care? And will there actually be room for advancement for me? And am I going to be able to get where I want to go?
I think that's a difference between the older generation and the new generation coming up a little bit. Like your dad and your uncle, they worked hard. They clocked a lot of hours so that we could build on that legacy, and maybe not live the same way, but build on that to have more of the life that we want for ourselves, but for our kids. Do you think that there's that difference now in the workplace and maybe at Alma Tire, right, where the values are more geared towards like setting everyone up for success long term?
I think it's definitely something that's become. I think a lot of companies, I think smart companies are paying a lot more attention to that kind of thing. Um, you know, that was kind of a key thing that it was another little bit of a light bulb moment for me. It was like when I was at Alma Tire, when I told my dad and uncle I wanted to work here full time, I wasn't given like any like great responsibility or really any direction. They were just like, okay, well, I guess we'll see what happens, go ahead. And I just really just started looking around for ways to make things better. Eventually became manager of our Alma location. And then I realized, like, after hiring a couple of people and like managing the process and taking on a leadership role, I was like, oh man, I'm now the guy that has influence over these other people's work lives and in turn their personal lives. Like, I now have the opportunity to bring to other people what I was looking for and having such a hard time finding.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking about, well, I know how hard I would work for this kind of opportunity. There's got to be more people like me out there. I'm just super lucky because my family had this business that was already established, that they had already made successful. Like, I had this opportunity that's rare, that people don't get to have. So now I'm like, okay, how can I best share this with other people? And if they want to get on the same kind of mission, like I say all the time, Alma Tire is a vehicle for, it's a vehicle to get people where they want to go. Like, yes, we're coming here, we're working and helping our customers and growing the company and doing all these things is important. And that's how the company is successful, right? But like, it's in making the people at Alma Tire personally successful. Like, that's where things really need to be.
That's really cool too. It's not a lot of companies take like a holistic view of a worker's life like that. Like, a lot of people treat it like, hey, it's work, personal life, work doesn't affect that. But honestly, work affects. You spend more time at work than you do at home for most people, and so work is a huge part of our life. And so in being that, it affects our personal life a lot. How do you guys here at Alma Tire, how do you kind of give people that value, give people that we're investing into your personal life? Like, what are some of the things you've done to get people who are on that same mission?
Well, we try to set things up like to give them the opportunity where, like, if you are going to bring value to the company and really contribute to the company's success, that will be like, you will see a return there, right? And like, especially thinking about like back when I started, now we've got 401k and we've got, all these other things that are in the pipeline that are hopefully going to be able to help people's lives out personally. But, like, honestly, just taking a genuine interest in the people that work here. Like, the world's a tough place, man, and people are going through a lot, but, we've got managers at our locations that are good. They're not just smart. They're not just hardworking. They're good people. Like, I've had conversations with some of these guys that are trying to help their own people through their own situations in their personal life. And it's like you said, people's work life, it's almost impossible not to bring it home, but people's personal lives, it's almost impossible for that not to come in the door. Everyone says, "Oh, you got to check that stuff at the door, or just come here and work and whatever." Like that. That's a fantasy. I mean, if you're having a hard time dealing with some personal situation, you can't expect people to just like not have that on their mind during the day. So we just try to listen and try to help in whatever way that we can. It's either everybody's going to win or nobody is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of switching gears to cars, like obviously, you have cars, you do some racing still, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, I'd love to know what kind of racing you do, but also where did that love of cars come from? When do you remember first? Like, hey, this is when I really started getting into cars, and what motivated that?
Well, I have a very clear memory. It's funny because I went. Me and my wife had date night last night. We were downtown Alma, and after we got done eating, we had some time left. Like the babysitter was still at home, and we weren't necessarily in a big hurry to get back. So we just
take your time.
Yeah. So we went for a walk, and we walked by our old house. We walked by the house where I grew up, and we walked by, and I said, "See that house over there?" And I said, "That's where Terry Taylor lived," and I think he still lives there actually. And I said, "Terry Taylor is the reason why I've become so sick with cars." And I could see like on my wife, she was like, "I need to have a talk with you."
Yeah, he's the problem.
Yeah, but I was like, man, I was like 8 years old, and riding my bike, doing something in the driveway at my house, and I just heard this noise it was incredible. It was like, it's just something inside me just was like, and
I heard it when you pulled this guy in.
Yeah. That car's a beast. But I hear it, and then I see this white 1970 Barracuda go by, like kind of slow down our street, and I just saw it, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And I got on my bike and just took off after this car. Like I didn't even know what I was doing. It was like instinctual. I just go, and like a block later, the car turns in and into this guy's driveway, and I'm just like a shy 8-year-old kid, whatever, and I'm just kind of standing there, and finally I'm like, "That's a really cool car." And he was very cool. He's like, "You want to come up and see it?" So he like, this car, I mean 70 Barracuda is badass, but like it was a 446 pack shaker hood car. Like, he opens the hood, it's got the hole in the hood, it's got the thing sticking through, the engine's orange. Like, this car was super bad. Black vinyl interior, whatever. And he's like, "You want to sit in it?" And then he I'm sure it was like just as cool for him. As
give a
it
car
was
guy a
for
chance
me.
to show off his piece. It's like, yes, I'll
and
take
he
it.
gets out this photo album, and he shows me all the. I remember this just like it was yesterday. Shows me all these pictures of it being restored and all this, and yeah, since that day, I've just I don't know, Hot Wheels model cars, radio control cars, whatever,
Everything,
and just anything I could do, right, and it's been a really fun, that's another reason why. Alma Tire it was such a natural fit for me, because we certainly don't specialize in hot rods or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, our bread and butter for as far as cars and pickups, just doing general maintenance and tire repair, but we do get some cool stuff in here, and it's always a thrill for me.
Yeah.
And I have a love of cars that, just gets, goofy. Like a 98 Buick Roadmaster, I'm like, "Oh man, did you see that thing?" Or a 94 Cadillac Eldorado or something. I'm like, "Oh, look at that."
Just trying to keep your eyes on the road as you.
Yeah.
So what was your first car then?
My first car was a 1986 Audi CS 5000 Turbo.
Nice.
It was a car that I got from my mother's dad. It was a neat car because it was turbocharged, and it was really fast, or at least I thought it was. But it also, like, nothing really would work very consistently on it. Like, the windows would go up and down sometimes. The air conditioning never worked. It had
Still loved it, right? With all.
Oh, I was very proud of this car.
Yep.
Like,
Always are.
insane.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm
always.
just like, this thing's awesome. Had a tape deck, and I didn't have the money to like put a different stereo in it, but didn't matter because there was a record store still downtown because that was like a thing that people would spend money as like actual physical
Yep.
copies of music, and you could still get tapes. So I had Led Zeppelin 4, I had Deep
Nice.
Purple's Greatest Hits, I had like whatever, But yeah, it was a fun car. It was a great 16-year-old car, like 16-year-old person's car, because I did hit things, I did hit people.
I'll hit people. There you
hit
go.
me. Well, people in their
People
cars.
in cars.
Yeah, people in cars.
Good to clarify.
Yeah, it was an Audi, not a Mustang. But no, yeah, that was my first car, and then my first like kind of cool car was a '77 Trans Am.
Nice.
That was an absolute POS, and I kind of went on this odyssey with that car of like getting it roadworthy. It never really made it out of POS status, but
Yep.
I did get
You
it to a
tried.
point where it looked cool. It was black, had a gold bird on the hood, had T-tops, had kind of a fast engine, and it was like all of them have been learning experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
What would you say to that moment, right, where Terry's, in his driveway, you're
Yeah.
pulling up on your bike, your kid, right? It's
Yes.
trying to figure out what you want to do in life and all
Yep.
that, and then you see this, you connect with cars. You're now racing. What would you like say to the kids that like are growing up in small town America, and have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder too, because they've been told, hey, what am I going to amount to? What am I going to go do? And I think that still exists in a big way.
for sure.
And trying to bring back small town America, but also you have to think about the individual, those kids. Like, what would be your advice?
Well, unfortunately, there's no shortage of people that are going to tell you that you can't do something. And there are a lot of people that will not mind seeing a person fail, which really it sucks. But there are a few people that genuinely enjoy to see people succeed. I would tell a person like that, look, you're gonna hear negative stuff. Ignore it at the least. Use it as fuel at the most, and just put your head down and get to work. Like, just work. It doesn't even matter what you're working, even if it's something that you're not even necessarily super into at the time. Like, just learning the skills of hard work and being able to persevere and get through things and problem solve and not say, I just don't know what to do. Like, work on being dependable. Work on being a person of your word. All of these things will translate into being valuable skills in the future, no matter what you're doing. And then I would say also, like, whatever kind of greatness you're trying to achieve, there are people out there who have done it. It is possible. And most people who have busted their ass to get something done and have gotten to a point where, you're going to sit there and go, man, that guy or lady is like pretty cool. Look at what they've done. More often than not, they would love to help someone come along that path.
Yeah.
I was very, very lucky to get around some people that I immediately looked up to, and I just tried to be around them.
Yep.
And learn and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful thing, honestly, for me in my life, because those relationships grow and develop, and like those people they're putting into you,
Yeah.
right? And then when they see you doing something with it, and like, and they what they get out of it is that they get to feel a little bit a part of your success, and they like people like that want to help other people.
Yeah. I think that's a really you hit it there. But that's a super underrated thing. People kind of ignore the fact that if you look at a really successful person or somebody who you look up to, even if you don't know them very well, it's just like, oh yeah, they're too busy. They don't have time. They wouldn't care to mentor me or like invest time into like, hey, can I ask you some questions? Can I see how you got to where you're at? And it's surprising in my experience how often you can reach out to somebody. You may not even know them. I've reached out to people I don't even know, and they'll take the time to like, yeah, let's grab a coffee, let's talk, ask me some questions, or shoot me an email with some questions, and I'll answer them when I have some time. It's surprising how often people will take the time to invest, and I think, like you said, it's just you got to ask. Like if you see those people, don't be too afraid to take the chance and ask, because there's a lot. I think most people would be surprised by how many of those people are willing to invest in someone else.
Yeah. Well, and they want to see like those people, whoever those people are, like their time is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, you got to think about it, like they don't give it away cheaply. They can't, because they don't have it to give in that way. But they'll give you a chance. They'll be like, yeah, I'll give you 5 minutes. But they want to see you do something with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they do, man, I mean, like I've had some people take on mentor roles in my life that it's amazing, really, what they have done and what they've done for me. And now, like these conversations that I have with them, like there's one guy in particular. He lives over kind of on the west side of the state now, but I got to know him while I was in school, and we talk probably now once every couple months, and the way that our conversations have changed, where like, he's asking me what I've got going on, and I tell him, and it's just, I went from being this kid that was like putting a fence in his backyard to now doing what I'm doing, and like the way that we have these conversations and the personal relationships that we've got. And it's just, you never know where things are going to go.
Yep.
But you definitely have got to put the work in, and you've got to put the work, you got to put it into your work, into your craft. You've got to put the work into building these relationships. But man, if you're not too afraid of what it's going to cost you, just go out and do it.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed at what comes back.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It is. One of the things that I like to say, like, you got to work hard, you got to do all that stuff. And one of the things I like to say is a lot of people are waiting for permission to try. That like permission to like, oh yeah, it's okay to take a risk. It's okay to like put yourself out there, even if you don't know exactly what you're doing yet. People need to just know that take a risk, take a chance, like try something out for the first time. If you're not good at it, you're not good at it. It's just how it goes. You'll get better if you stick with it. And if you don't, then you learned it wasn't for you, but you gotta try things, and you gotta put the work in if you're going to try it. You got to apply yourself to that. And so I think just there's a lot of people out there that they just need to know, like, hey, you got permission to just try stuff. Like, you don't have to be perfect when you put out something in public. Just get out there.
Well, and like you said, younger people, it's like, what have you got to lose?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, just get out there.
Yep.
This guy I was just talking about, and I was talking about putting the fence in, when I met this guy because my roommate in college was doing some work for him in his office. He got introduced to him. And this guy would come by our apartment, and like he would pull up in his like might have been a GT 500 or something, but like he'd pull up and he'd bring like cookies that his wife had made and all this. And I'm like, and I'm seeing this guy, and I'm just like, what is the deal with this guy? And also like, how did you meet? How did you hook up with him? But I would say to my buddy, I'm like, look, if he ever needs any more help, like, let me know. Right. And so every time he would come to the apartment and he'd go to talk to my roommate, I'd always be like right there, and I'm like, hey Lance, how you doing? And I'm like, if you ever need any help, So, one day he called me and he's like, "Hey, do you know how to?" He was building a house, and he goes, "Hey, have you ever put a fence in?" And I was like, "Yeah," you know, definitely had never done
Never
that,
done that.
But I'm thinking, in my head, I'm like, I don't know, dig holes, put things in them,
Can't be
make
that
it
hard,
straight,
right?
like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, well, I need this fence around here. I got all the material. You can just come over between classes, whatever, whenever you have time. I was like, absolutely. I didn't know what he was going to pay me. I didn't whatever, but I'm like, how this is going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Getting close to this person.
Yeah.
So I put the fence in.
Still standing, or you don't know?
I don't know. I should go by there. He doesn't live there anymore.
How well
I
is
should,
that fence still?
Yeah, you should get an update on like, was it worth it?
It would be very easy for me to go right back to that house. I mean, I remember it clearly.
That's awesome.
I just said yes. I just tried it, right? And I'm like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to get out of this, but I'm like, this guy seems cool. There are things that he's got going on that I think would be very cool in my life. I just want to be around him. So I go and do this, and then like the last day that I was working, it was a weekend, and he just comes out and starts helping me. And this guy's like, he's big time, but you get to meet him a little bit, and then you find out, oh, he had very, very humble beginnings. He's a guy that can put on a ratty sweatshirt and get his hands dirty and doesn't mind coming out and helping to fix the fence. And
Sure.
what were we doing while we were working on the fence together? Talking.
Yep.
And he's talking to me, what are you doing? And I'm learning about him and all this, and we're building this relationship. We get all done, and he's like, can you hang these TVs and build these shelves in my house? I'm like, absolutely. So you just keep doing this, and yeah, I mean, like he's one of my very, very good friends now. And he was a great friend to have when I went through, a pretty tough time in my work life, and I just needed someone to talk to. Like, just even to have that resource
Yeah.
is worth so much. But it's like, how did I get to have that relationship? I just worked hard and took an interest in this person. And then they in turn took an interest in me. Like, you can create a lot out of very little, really.
Yeah.
But you've got to be okay with putting yourself out there and
Yep.
trying and not worrying about, well, I need to make sure I get this if I'm going to do this. And just go do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
Yeah. I think we need to hear that more. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, where you've mentioned hard work, obviously that's a really important value to you. Where did that come from for you? Where did that instilling of that value? Where'd you pick that up?
I mean, my dad, uncle, and granddad. Especially when I was a kid.
Yep.
I would watch those guys work. I mean, that's like, it's unbelievable, their work ethic, and watching them do what they did when I was a kid. I mean, just like the memories of, watching my dad. I would go with my dad on the weekend sometimes, and he'd be having to go and change a whole bunch of tires, and I would just watch this guy, smacking these tires with this duckbill hammer, and he's sweating like crazy. I'm good for nothing. I'm like a tiny little kid, and I'm just watching him. And, then he cuts himself and he's bleeding and he doesn't notice and he just keeps going. And you're just watching this and you're just like, oh my gosh, But all of these things, you see them in a different perspective as you get older. And, like, well, what was his motivation for doing this? And why was he doing this? How was he able to do this? And then also, then, I've since gotten married and had some kids and whatnot. Sure. And my dad, my uncle, and my granddad, they get talked about a lot, especially around Alma Tire, but really, like, man, my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, like the ladies that were supporting these men when they were out there and doing what they did. I mean, is it hard to go to work and work a 14, 16-hour day? Which, like, I don't do a lot of anymore. I've certainly certainly done it many times, and I still do it every once in a while. Is it hard to do? Yeah. You know what's even harder? Watching 3 kids under the age of 5 years old at one time and being in your house and not talking to another adult for the entire day, and trying to make sure that they're good and all that. I mean, like, that's hard.
Yep.
I would. My job can be hard some days. I wouldn't trade it for that. I mean,
the tires aren't screaming at you,
dude. You want to? I mean, you want to talk about some real work ethic and strength and whatnot. I mean, that's crazy, and I get a lot of inspiration out of those ladies. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it does. It does.
So when did your role in leadership, and specifically as CEO, how old were you when you got into that position?
Well, I have only been officially CEO for like a year because, and I guess this probably speaks to a lot of things. Blissful ignorance is one thing that kind of comes to mind, but and just getting out there and just doing it is another. But you know, I took on that title when, you know, it just got to a point where I started when I came back to Alma Tire full time. I delivered a lot of tires. Then I graduated to changing a lot of tires. Then I graduated to doing service calls. Then I graduated to manager. Then I graduated to managing managers. You know, and people would ask me, like, wherever I was, and they're like, so what's your position? You know, what do you do? You know, and I'm like, well, I can't really say manager because I'm not. And I'm like, saying tire tech doesn't really fully encompass everything that I'm doing. And I just Googled it. I'm like, what does the CFO do? What does the COO do? What does the CEO do? And like all these things. And I'm like, well, the description of CEO seemed to match up most closely with whatever I was doing. And so then I just started calling myself that, and people bought it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, what was funny is I, and I'm like, we're going to buy this company, right? Like a year and a half ago, we were able to finalize it, but we bought another tire shop called Jerry's Tire, and it was a big deal. It wasn't the first company we bought. The first one was a one location tire shop down in Lansing, and that was a pretty simple deal. And so nobody was really worried about like who was signing what or whatever. But with the Jerry's Tire, it was a little different. It was kind of, we were approaching, big time in terms of deals.
Yeah.
And at one point, the lawyer we were working with on our side, he says, "Hey, you are legally allowed to sign these documents, right? Like you're the CEO, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
sure."
And he's like,
like building the fence, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've been signing stuff for a long time. Like, it's fine. And he's like, but I mean, like in your corporate documents and like articles and all this, it says that you're this. And I was like, no, like, does that need to be? And he's like, yeah, for like legal purposes, you have to be actually you have to actually have the like you can't just call yourself that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was just like,
Love it. Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, so since that time, we've fixed that, and I am officially legally the chief executive officer of Alma Tire, and I can sign things.
That's good. That's good.
And all this.
I think that speaks to oftentimes when a company's getting set up and they're building out their org chart, and it's like, here's all the different roles and responsibilities, and here's what I do, and I'm at the top. It's like, well, you've worked in every position all the way through the company.
Pretty close.
Your entire, and it's like that.
Gotten a little taste of everything.
You got to the point where it's like, I know how to run this place, and I guess I am running this place, and What was that like with your dad, though? What was that transition like?
He didn't. There was no power struggle. There was no nothing. I mean, my dad and uncle are they're amazing people. But they, like everyone's personalities a little different. It was not like a huge goal of theirs to have a statewide presence, or to grow the company in this way or anything like that. Like they were doing just exactly what they wanted to do, and they were running Alma Tire just exactly the way that they wanted to run it. And I think that's something that's kind of neat. Me being fourth generation is like, my great granddad and my dad's dad, my granddad, they came into it at the same time, right? And my great granddad was the boss, and we did things. I say we, but obviously I wasn't here for it. But like we were doing things his way, and then after a little while, he got out of it, and then the company was run according to the way that my granddad wanted to do it and felt that he could do it. And then when it was Jim and Jeff's turn, they started running the company very differently. My granddad had like 10 or 11 stores at one time. And then when my dad and uncle took it over, they brought it down to 2. But that was what they wanted. That was what they thought was actually best for the business at the time. And from everything I've been told, it is. And then I came, and now generation, family generation speaking, because now my brother and my cousin are here. They've been here for 3 years, but we're doing it the way that we want to do it and the way that we feel comfortable doing it. Yeah. But the cool thing is my family, I feel, is I'm extremely lucky for many reasons, but there's a very low sense of entitlement among any of us. We all are benefactors of people who have gone before us, who have put work in before us. And we've all got a tremendous amount of respect for that work and those people because, had my granddad not made the decisions that he did to work as hard as he did every day in the 50s, like all of those things have mattered to bring me the opportunity that I was talking about at the beginning of this podcast. So, it's something that's not lost on me. I know that my brother and my cousin and my dad and my uncle, it's something that's very it's present on our minds all the time, Yeah. But we've all got to experience this this amazing opportunity. So at the same time, nobody wants to deny anybody else of having the opportunity to do things that they want to do in the way that they want to do it. Now, there was certainly a period of time, and I wouldn't say that time period is closed, but where I have had to earn the trust of my dad and my uncle that I'm not gonna ruin everything. They're not just like, oh yeah, well, I had this opportunity, so you have it, so here's the keys. Like,
yeah.
I hope you do okay. It's like,
they care too much to fully just like,
they care too much, and like, hey, I mean, they've put a lot of work into it themselves,
they
right?
See it succeed.
So they're wanting to protect it.
Yeah.
But it's just, you put your time in, you do the right things, you show that you can be trusted with responsibilities, and that and not that you'll never make a mistake, because I've made plenty. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure I'm going to make more. But no, I mean, I think they're I think my dad and uncle are, I think they're pretty jacked to see what we're doing. They're, and they'll tell you, they're like, this wasn't the way that we were going to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's pretty cool that you're doing it.
Yeah. It's working.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you mentioned like it's kind of evolved and changed in the way the company's been led and the way that, the structure is like, hey, let's have a bunch of locations. Let's have just a couple, it's kind of come back and forth. And now, how many locations do you have now?
We have 10 commercial truck tire locations, sales and service. Of those, 4 of them are heavy-duty mechanical repair for semi-trucks, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get into really rebuilding engines or transmissions or anything, but we'll R&R anything like that. And we don't do that. We don't do windshields. Other than that, it's
Everything else.
We do pretty much everything. Then we've got 4 locations that are passenger light truck, tires and mechanical repair.
Cool.
Then we've got our retread plant and distribution center where we're making tires great again. We're taking worn out tires and saving them from a landfill, saving companies from having to buy another brand new tire, and putting them back into service, and
That's cool.
shipping them all
It's an
over.
interesting process, I'm sure.
It's super cool, man. It's you guys should.
I didn't know that they did that.
You should while you're here in town, you should go over and check
I
it
will
out.
have to check it out.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's really cool, and it's something that we all are very, very proud of, because it's a product that we make, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's the Bandag Bridgestone process, and we follow that process. It's a great process. It's a great product, but there's freedom, and we exercise that freedom to make improvements on the process. If things can be a little bit better or whatever, because quality is number one with those things. You don't want to retread a truck tire, give it to your customer, and then it goes and
For sure.
blows apart on the highway, and then you get a nasty phone call, and your reputation is just not going to be what you want it to be. But it's very, very cool. It's like anything else at Alma Tire. It's the people in that plant. They're the ones that really make the difference. And they're all extremely proud of what they do, and it shows.
Yeah. How many people do you have currently working at Alma Tire?
We've got, I think,
As of today,
I think as of today, 167.
Yeah, it just keeps growing. And you guys are, so you've been at it. So you went from 2 locations with your dad, right? And at one point, and they
I
started
guess
growing again.
You could say 3 if you counted the retread plant, but like I remember when we had less than 30 people working at the company.
So
total.
What was the difference in philosophy or methods or whatever that was like, hey, let's come down to 2 and then let's build up? What was that mentality?
Well,
that
my
changed
dad
things?
and uncle, they brought it down to 2 because they had to. When they came in, the business was in a pretty tough spot. It was not good. I mean, Alma Tire was like kind of like on life support, really. But they just wanted to get it down to a point where they could control it.
Yeah.
And the way that they knew how to do that is they were like, okay, there's 2 of us, so I'm going to run this store, you're going to run that store. We're not going to steal from each other. We're both going to work hard, and we're going to make it a success that way.
Yep.
And they crawled their way out of debt. They crawled their way out of losing money. I mean, it's hard to imagine. It's like, it's hard to imagine what that must have been like. I can't compare our experiences. Like when I came here, they had already put that work in. Alma Tire was a successful company. Was it a perfectly run company? No. Is it now? No. But they were making money, and I didn't have to wonder if I was going to get a paycheck. Like I'm sure they did.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that as a kid at all?
Nope.
Okay. So
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Nope.
And that's the thing too, is kids are kind of like, hey, I'm just happy to be here, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were
taken
our
care
house,
of.
dude. Our house, I can't say enough about. I mean, like, my family is just incredible. my little nuclear family that I got to grow up with, my 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 extended family. I mean, it's just the things that we all hold to be very important. I mean, it's just those have always been the highest priority, and they still are. And we never had really fancy things growing up, but whatever, like, whenever there was a little extra, it was always like back on, those investments were made in me and my brother and sister when we were growing up. And that's the thing,
cool.
like, I think people you'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, I never saw my dad growing up because he was just working all the time." And people can be like kind of resentful about that. I am not at all. But I think the key thing there is, like, I know the reason why my dad was working all the time. Like, if my dad was working all the time to go and make another $1 million or something, then it's like, geez, dude, like,
Yeah.
when's enough and go spend time with your kids.
Yeah.
When you later in life understand that your dad was working that hard to make sure you could have dinner, like, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And even when we were little kids, before I could understand a concept like that, you just internally kind of like understood it, because he didn't really spend money on himself. Neither did my mom. Like, and it was just never a thing that entered our mind. We never thought we were poor. We weren't poor. We had a nice house. It was fine. Whatever. But we weren't rich, I mean, in any way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, just from my own childhood, my dad was in gutter installation for 27 years, and so like in those early
Need them gutters, dude.
That's right. In those early years, though, it was a little bit of like every tax season rolled around, and like, like you're just kind of trying to find two pennies to rub together. It wasn't that crazy, but it felt like that at times for me. And
just
then
got to tighten our belts a little bit.
Yeah, tighten your belts a little bit. Like, hey, we're gonna cut back. We're gonna buy the cheap cereal, whatever that is, right?
Oh my gosh!
But
the big bags of
Yeah,
cereal,
the big bag of
like
cereal
on the bottom.
Oh yeah, that was my
I
childhood.
want
Yeah.
Fruit Loops.
Oats
No.
and honey. That's
not
what it
happening.
was.
Yeah.
It was oats and honey, and I just have never experienced that myself. Like, I got into business, and from that point forward, it was like, I can't connect with that fully, what my dad and mom had to go through to put me where I am today. But I understand it in the sense of, like, I saw what they sacrificed to be able to get me to the point where I can jump into business and know a little more of what I'm doing. And yeah, there were some mistakes my dad was making along the way. He'd be the first to admit it, but he eventually got the business to where it's like, oh, it's running and it's smooth. And I think not to get on a soapbox, but like one of the reasons why we started Blue Collar Creative was to redefine blue collar and the stigma that can come along with that. Mm-hmm. And not even for what it was in the past, like making blue collar great again, right? Like, not necessarily for what it was in the past completely. Mm-hmm. To appreciate the past, to honor the hard work that was put in, but for what it can be in the future. And I think, to your story, right? Like, you're a family guy. You want to be there for your kids in a different way than maybe your dad was able to be. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to give a lot of credit to my wife for helping me with that perspective, because, I if left to my own devices, I could very easily, and it happens like this, you'll have the best intentions of doing something, but then day after day after day, you'll make the same decision. And I would work here at Alma Tire from, dark to dark, and like never see my kids, Yeah. But that's what I grew up seeing, and that is, I mean, still there's this drive inside you for many different reasons.
Yeah.
And least of which is money, where you feel like that's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
But my wife made it very clear even before we had kids that she was not about that life, and I had to, I had to kind of come to the realization that like, okay, my wife's not going to be tolerant of this, but I still have these things that I know need to get done and that I want to get done. So how am I going to, I'm going to have to do it differently than my dad and uncle did. So I've got to figure it out. And that was a painful process because I really had to go through and like try and figure out how to do that. But it was really her persistence that really set me on that path.
To making it possible. To do that. That's...
But yeah, I mean, like blue collar stuff. I think a blue collar job has always been a path to a great life. I just think, public sentiment changed the perception of it for a while. But it's like anything else, it's a pendulum swing. And I mean, you can look up anything that Mike Rowe's ever put out on social media for the past 10, 15, whatever years. There's so much fulfillment that you can get out of a blue collar job and doing stuff with your hands. And it's something that I miss a lot at Alma Tire now because I just don't get to, like, I love changing truck tires. I love to do it. And I just really don't get to do it very much anymore. But, on the occasional day that I get to a shop and I've got a little time on my hands and the guys are super busy and I can throw in and change a couple tires, like, I love it.
Yeah.
And I think they like seeing it too.
There
are some people, dude, there's some, like, I stopped one of my service guys from the Alma shop like a month ago. It was a Saturday. I was over picking up a trailer and he was on his way back from a yard and I flagged him down and I was like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, oh, just getting back from these guys. I said, cool. Everything go all right? Yeah. He's like, man, but did I have a tough one last night? Like service call. I go, oh really? And I said, what's up? And he's like, well, I was, he's like, it was a Dayton wheel. No, it was a stud pilot. He's like, it was a stud pilot wheel and like the outer nuts and inner nuts just like, and he like stops and he looks at me and he goes, well, I mean, like, you've changed tires before, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. And he was being very genuine about it. Like, he wasn't
but
like,
you're like, oh, come on, that stings a little.
but I was like, yes, I have changed a lot of tires. Yes,
It's like when you get later in life and
it's
it's like the sports conversation with your kids. They're like, wait, you used to play that? And like, yeah, I used to play that.
And I was actually pretty good.
Come on.
You've seen me, back in the day. No, but I mean, blue collar jobs are awesome, and when you can combine a blue collar job with a whether that's going out and starting your own thing and doing your own thing, which I think is super cool. We've had guys leave Alma Tire and go and start their own truck repair facility, and it's
awesome.
You know what? It is awesome.
Yeah,
it is awesome. At the end of the day, there's enough to go around. And like, I understand the want to go and do something on your own just as much as anybody else. Like, how can you fault a guy for doing that?
Yeah.
But like, whether you're doing that or
do it in the right way, right?
Well,
like,
sure.
Sometimes
like anything else. Yeah,
exactly.
No. But like this particular kid I'm referring to, I call him a kid. He's not a kid. He's a grown man, and a great young man. But whether you're doing that or you're just finding a company that has the right values and has these things that we were talking about before, where they're going to take an interest in you, and like if you can get all of these needs addressed at work, and it's an amazing thing. And a blue collar job, especially for some people, is, I mean, almost the surest way to that end.
Yeah.
I mean, the like physical labor looks awful, but man, when you're in it and you're doing it alongside a couple other people, and like when it's 85 degrees and you're working outside on hot asphalt and it's a busy day and there's 3 gravel trains lined up and there's 2 or 3 of you, and you've just got to bang this
Yep.
stuff out, and then you get them all done, and you get to the end of the day, and you're soaking wet, and like, you know, the Red Bulls and the Monsters have been drank, and your hat's soaked, and you know, everything else. But you know, then finally all the phone calls were made, all the vehicles were picked up, all the everything. I mean, to be able to then go sit down in the air conditioned office and, you know, just talk about the day, maybe have a beverage, you know, eat some
Sure.
peanuts,
Yep.
whatever. I
Yep.
mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
You can't. It's something that's going to be difficult to come by in an office setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just from a job perspective, right? Like, take that to a white collar office setting. It's like, where is that satisfaction at the end of the day of like anything good is hard at the end of the day to really get
Yeah.
to that point.
Yeah.
So
That which was gained without effort is worth what it cost.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
In
well
the
said.
words of my great grandmother. But
Wise
yeah,
woman.
I mean, you know, and no shade on white collar work. I mean, like, that's all very important stuff too. It's just some people aren't built for that, and
Well, and more people need to hear that too, right? Because we've been hearing the message like, hey, go to college, get a degree. But I think there's this pendulum swing now that's starting to take place because, well, people want to make a good living. They want to be able to own their own home one day. They want to have skills that they can fix things when it breaks down. It's like, yeah, that's a good thing to pursue in general. And it's like we
Yeah.
need to share that message more.
Yeah.
well, life's gonna be hard. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna not be hard. You're not gonna find. I mean, unless you were born into something wild, you know. But
Sure.
like, I'm sure even that's got its own challenges.
Yeah.
But it's like you can either try to make life into what you want, or life's gonna turn it back on you. I mean, you're a player in the game, whether you're going to be an active player or not. There's no getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's really something to be said for the pride of accomplishment, you know, like taking pride in what you do, working hard, and then seeing tasks be accomplished or things happen that are tangible. You know, we kind of straddle the line in video production between like white collar and blue collar because we do a lot of office stuff. We do editing. We do like
I don't know,
spreadsheets
man.
and-
I saw you guys set up here. This
But
is
then
a
we-
lot. This is a lot of work,
Yep.
dude.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people don't think that about filmmaking. Is most filmmakers actually see themselves as like blue collar
Tradesmen.
creatives.
Yeah.
That's like it actually has been considered a blue collar profession for a long time.
Well, but like you said, not to interrupt you, but you said blue collar creative.
Yep.
And I think that's something, that word creative,
Mm-hmm.
that is very key to the blue collar stuff.
Yes.
I mean, like, in so many of these blue collar occupations, whether you're moving dirt or fixing a car or whatever, you're engaging this part of your brain where you're like, I mean, you're working on these problems and there are different ways of getting there.
Yep.
And you get to think about it and you get to figure it out. It's a huge creative outlet,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think
That-
when we put those two words together, we're like, initially you think it's an oxymoron, but it's not. They're actually very
Yeah.
What's
very
these
connected.
stigmas?
Well,
Right. Yeah.
that's quite honestly, you know, that's exactly why we named the company Blue Collar Creative, is because we see ourselves as people from a blue collar background who like to work hard. And one of the taglines we use is we roll up our sleeves and go to work for you. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
but we see ourselves as blue collar, but in a creative industry. And we also see the fact that, like you said, those blue collar industries take more than what people think they do. They are creative. Like to be
For sure.
a carpenter, that's a creative feat in a lot of ways. Like you're solving problems all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
You're adjusting. And same thing with, you know, working in cement or doing,
Wrenching
you know,
on cars,
auto
yeah.
tech. Yeah. It's all problem solving, creativity, innovating, but it looks different than what people say creativity, you know,
Yeah.
but it's there.
But then also, and you know, once you do solve that problem and you get it done and you like, no matter what it is, I mean, like, to be able to stand back and look at it
Yes.
and be like,
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
did that.
I mean, the feeling
that.
is, yeah.
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 Along the journey of like transitioning into leadership, like to the next generation, to yourself in leadership, how have your dad and your uncle supported you through that?
They have, how my dad and uncle supported me. They have worked very hard, you know, they worked very hard before I got here. And then as I've been trying to do things, especially like early on, you know, like opening these other locations. I mean, their support role was they were like, okay, we're going to let you do this, but and we'll drive tires up there for you, we'll do whatever, but like this is your deal to figure out, right? So they were supportive, but they it was very much like yeah, that's fine, but like this is on you, like this is your project. And it, in a way, like it sometimes is, almost a little bit of like I've had I've had sort of like some tough love, I guess, in some of these situations. So like one evening, because like when our first like real location other than Alma and Mount Pleasant was in Gaylord.
Mm-hmm.
And Gaylord is far away
Yep.
from Alma. It's like if you're if you're driving like you're supposed to, it's like 2 hours.
Yep.
And I'm trying to like help the manager up there like solve problems, and like I'm trying to help the salesperson figure out how to sell tires, and like there are just all these things that really like Alma and Mount Pleasant were doing the whole time, but now I've got to try to figure out how we're going to do it up in Gaylord. And there's this one night I was because the people who were hauling away our scrap tires, they would not go as far north as Gaylord, so I couldn't get a scrap tire trailer up there. So I didn't really know what to do, and I was still working on things in Alma and Mount Pleasant. So it was like it was an interim solution and not a great one. But I would just leave one of our trailers up there, and then as they would fill it with scrap, when it was full, I would go up there, drop another one, and then I would bring that trailer back down to Alma or Mount Pleasant. I would unload it and load our scrap trailer. It was something I usually did like after hours. And I was on my way back from Gaylord this one night, and my dad calls me, and it's like, it's pretty late, and it's going to be a later night, And my wife's not real jacked about it, whatever. The kids are younger. And my dad calls me, and I don't know what was like, I don't know what his deal was, but I'm like, hey, what's up? And he just starts going off about something. And it was like something that was not getting done at one of the stores. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do about it? And he's like, well, I don't know, but you need to figure this out. And I just kind of like, man, it really lit my wick. And I just unloaded on my dad over the phone. And I remember because like by this time I'd pulled off because I needed fuel, and I was at this gas station, and I was sitting in the parked truck, and I was just, dude, I'm not proud to say, but like, I mean, I was just screaming on the phone, and I was just like, everybody wants me to do everything. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm getting up this early. I'm getting back this late. Like, everyone just says, well, Tony's going to fix it. Tony, you need to fix it, about everything all the time. And I was just, I was stressed, and I just snapped, right? And it's a bad deal. Don't, you shouldn't do that with anybody. Definitely shouldn't speak that way toward your dad or your boss. And he was both.
Double
but
whammy.
yeah, and I don't know. I hung the phone up and just kind of sat in my truck, and I was like, you just had this feeling like I shouldn't have done that, and was feeling bad. And I sat there, just had a couple deep breaths, and I texted my dad, and like I said, I mean, having these different stores and all this, that was not their ambition, right? Like, this is something that I was pushing for.
Yeah.
And I texted my dad and I just was like, hey, I'm sorry, that was totally undeserved. Like, I'm sorry that I went off. Like, these aren't your problems. This is my problem. I'm the one that asked for this. I'm the one that said we need to do this. I'm the one that said they were going to accept the responsibility for it. I asked for this, not you, me. And he just sent me back this text and he said, just don't stop. He could have said a million things at that time. He could have been like, hey, it's okay. Or he could have been like, yeah, I've been there. Or he could have been like, yeah, don't ever let it happen again. Like, it could have been a million different things, but he said, just don't stop. And this was after, being spoken to, I mean, I'm just going to say pretty disrespectfully by his own kid. And, talking about how hard these people who have gone before me had worked to even give me this opportunity and all this. I mean, it was like, he could have said a lot of things, but what he essentially said in that message was like, I believe in you. Like, I know it's hard. Keep going. You're going to get through it. Like, just, and I'm here for you. Like, I understand that I'm going to catch this every once in a while because I understand that it's really hard, but I would rather have you keep going and keep doing this thing that's inside you and that you feel like you need to do than, and we'll deal with it. But I would rather have that than have you quit and say it's too much.
Wow.
And it was a big moment.
Yeah, somehow he's able to communicate all that in 3 words.
Well, I think
at that time.
Yeah. I think it really just speaks to the wisdom of my dad. And I think it also, he comes by that honestly, as they say. I mean, my dad, a lot of people don't know that he was Dean's List pre-med at Michigan State and then went to Nepal, India for 3 years to be a medical technician. I mean, he looks and in a lot of ways he looks like a knuckle dragger and a goofball, and he says and does a lot of really weird stuff, and like the older he gets, it seems like the more he does, but and on my mom's side of the family too, I mean, no
Sure.
doubt about it, but like been very blessed to have some very, very loving, but very, very intelligent. But I think that word wisdom is about more than just being smart about facts.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have just absolutely torn into life, and like I say, they've been very grateful, and have earned a very interesting perspective on a lot of different things, and I'm very lucky to be on the receiving end of that stuff.
Well, when you have someone you respect too, who's obviously been there for you through the years, kind of laid the groundwork, when they put their arm around you and say, hey, don't stop, like, you got this, it means a whole lot. It fills you up. It's like, I'm built for this.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Because you need to hear that from time to time, as like a young business owner, young dad, just trying to like make it. Like, they've been there, they've done that, and when they put their arm around you, you're like, hey, you got this. It's like, okay.
I mean, anybody that's been lucky enough to have someone that they really look up to, a hero figure that has ever given them a vote of confidence. I mean, like, they know what that feels like.
Yeah.
And it's huge. So
Love it.
yeah.
So I know I touched on it earlier. I meant to ask about racing too, like, love for cars, but you still do some racing. Like, what kind of racing do you do?
Yeah, so I need to be clear. I don't think it's really fair to call it racing. It's more like just driving fast for time.
Nice.
Sure.
It's not. We don't have like qualifying. We're not all in grid. We're not passing for position or anything like that. It's time trial stuff. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll get out on a road course or an autocross, like cones in a big parking lot. There's a couple neat series out there. Ultimate Streetcar is one of them. Probably the most well known. But yeah, it's a fun thing to do. It's an awesome experience. It allows me to really enjoy these machines that I've got a lot of work into and that have been, a dream of mine since I was a little kid. But when you're a little bit like, kind of ADHD, when you're just like always like thinking of, whenever you're doing something, like some people I think have this, and I know I do. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but like I'll be doing something and I'll have 3 or 4 other things reeling in the back of my mind like the whole time.
Yep.
Like, and I'm just whatever. And that's why I've told people the thing that I really like about one of the things that I really enjoy about racing is that when I'm doing it, it is the only thing I can think about at the time. Like when you're going 150 miles an hour in a 50-year-old car and you're coming up to a braking zone and you're really pushing it, you're not thinking about other stuff.
You're focused.
Yeah. So it's like it's a neat way to kind of like get in that zone in that mental state.
Yep.
But no, I love it. And the people that, it's a great group of people that do it, and you kind of get like your little tribe.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. One phrase that is kind of coming to my mind, we're talking about all this stuff is, I'm blanking, I regret to say I'm blanking on the
Who
person.
said it?
Yeah, but this is like
We'll look
thousands
it up
and
after.
thousands of years ago. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna take a guess here and say that it was Euclid, but I don't know.
Fact
old-
check us.
Yeah,
Go
fact
for
check
it. But
It doesn't matter because it doesn't matter who said it is true, but there's this saying, and it goes, "We can see so far because we stand on the shoulders of giants," and that is how I've felt. Like when you talk about your dad and the experience that he had in business, and then you're in business school. Like, was it not for him going through those experiences and putting you on another path to do this? I mean, it's just such an important thing to think about, and it really is. I think it's important to remember that, like, if you do what you're supposed to do, you're trying to become that giant for somebody else and get other people further down the road.
yeah, that's good.
You're paying it back. You're paying it forward.
Well, and to
You're doing
protect
these
that,
things.
because I think
Yeah.
legacy is under fire. The old generations can get a bad rap, just as much as the older generations like to give the young people a bad rap. But when you can appreciate, both perspectives, right, of where they've come from and why they did what they did, like you said about your dad, and then realizing we have the opportunity to go from here and build something great. Don't stop. I think that's the message of the podcast. So, Tony, thanks for coming on here. Thanks for sharing your story. It's exciting to hear what Alma Tire is doing and where you guys are going. And to do it in a place like this, in like the middle of the mitten, too, pretty much. We're like a couple miles away.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's cool.
That's special for us to be here.
Yeah. I got a lot of small town pride. It's, like I say, I maybe got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I'm used to being the underdog. And yeah, it's to grow what we have been able to out of Little Alma, Michigan, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of what the whole Alma Tire team has done, and I'm excited to see where we all go from here.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah, thank you guys.
You got it.